All right, Alderman Villegas, you put up with me long enough on that oration. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Ben, and appreciate the opportunity to get back on here, and always like listening to your point of view.
So the joke here is I'm a little to the left of Gil Villegas, put it mildly, but I enjoy. We're both Democrats, okay? I'm gonna come out and say, I'm a Democrat. I've always voted Democrat, except for once in my life. I voted for Republican, and I think it was probably before you were born. So who am I kidding? I'm stuck with the Democratic Party for better or worse. And you're more of the centrist variety of a Democrat. And so somehow or other, we have to coexist long enough to defeat Donald Trump or defeat the Trump movement and elect Democrats. So let's see if there's anything we can find agreement on, a mutual spot here in this conversation. So I'll start with the conversation about the budget cuts. Let's start there. We'll get into the X issue with Ukraine in a little bit, but I'll start with the budget cuts since I mentioned them. Your thoughts, your just initial thoughts on what Donald Trump is doing to our federal workforce. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what you see going on right now is that the administration is creating a false narrative. They're trying to tell Democrats, if you don't support DOGE, then you're for bloated governments. And the reality is that there's no elected official that's for waste, corruption. There's no one that stands for that. But the question is, what are we doing in looking at what the inspector generals of those respective departments have, the reports they've issued around mismanagement? One of the things that Trump and Musk like to talk about around Social Security is that there's people that are 120, 130 years old that are receiving checks, which is the Inspector General has come out and blatantly said that that's false. The Social Security Department keeps record of those folks that have received Social Security benefits. And so, yes, the records will contain someone who's 120 years old, but it says no longer receiving benefits. It's just a tracking of people that have received benefits in the past. And so if you're going to make cuts or you're going to make efficiencies, then you got to do it with a scalpel. You can't come in there with a chainsaw or a hacksaw and sit there and think that you're going to run this as a business. That happened here in Illinois a few years back under Governor Rauner, where he wanted to run a government like a business. And the reality is that in some instances you can talk about an ROI, but how do you quantify or ROI on an orphan, someone that's a ward of the state? There's going to be a cost associated with that. We have to make sure that we're treating people with dignity. Listen, I'm a recipient. My family was a recipient of Social Security's death benefits. My dad died when I was 8. And it really pisses me off that you have MAGA and Musk trying to demonize families that are receiving Social Security survival death benefits. It really does. It's those types of investments that are needed. It's that type of safety nets that's needed in order to make sure that we have people like myself, who was a beneficiary, like my brother, who was a beneficiary, allowing my mom to work with dignity, allowing my mom to raise 2 boys in the city of Chicago so that we weren't statistics. Statistically, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be at City Hall. I grew up a single mom, 2 boys in challenging neighborhoods, but it was that Social Security death benefits that allowed my mom the ability to work with dignity. And when neighborhoods got challenging, allow her to move us out so that we can get a better chance. We received death benefits. I received it for 10 years. And when you take a look at it, both me and my brother, it probably totaled $150,000 worth of investments over those 10 to 14 years. But me and my brother have been taxpayers since we were 18. We've paid back that investment multiple times over. Oh, by the way, both me and my brother served in the United States Marine Corps. We paid our debt back to the government. It's those types of investments that we need to continue making. The fact that they're trying to paint this broad brush of people that are taking advantage of these programs is just really sickening. And the fact that you have Republican congressmen and women and senators that are going along with this BS. Who do you think's the largest recipient of SNAPs? It's these red states of Social Security benefits. I mean, they're trying to create this false narrative. And the reality is that it's time for Republicans to stand up and push back and say, no, these programs do work. Is there bloat? Yes, let's find it and cut it. No one's advocating for additional fraud and corruption and bloatful spending. No one's advocating for that. What we're advocating for is for programs that work. And so I've dared the Republicans, go ahead and cut Social Security. I dare you, please. It'll make 2026 a lot easier, because the reality is that you have Elon Musk, whose family's never going to have to worry about Social Security for generations, in a position telling people that, yeah, these programs, these Ponzi schemes are bad, and they're not. And the reality is that this Social Security trust fund is not going to impact the budget. It's a trust. It's a separate fund that's set aside for these types of investments.
By the way, you said you made reference to something, and in my English, I just don't know what it is, and I apologize. Did you say ROI? Is that what you said?
ROI, yeah, return on investment, right? Because business politicians like to talk about what's the ROI, and we saw Musk is probably thinking to himself, "Hey, what's the ROI in Social Security here? Like, they put in this much, what are we getting back?" And reality is like, no, that's not how this works. This isn't a business. The investments in people are hard to quantify, but we got to invest in people.
I'll tell you what the ROI for Elon Musk is.
Oh yeah. Oh,
the ROI for Elon Musk is billions and billions of dollars and handouts from Donald Trump's administration. That's the ROI. That's his investment. He shows up with a chainsaw and goes on TV. So that's his work, Gil. Okay, that's what he did. That's his investment, and the return, billions of dollars, man.
Yeah, I've never would imagine that we would be in this situation where you would have a president allowing a non-elected official to make these types of decisions, impacting tens of thousands of Americans' lives, and the majority of them being veterans.
Yeah.
And so it's disheartening that you don't have Congress standing up. It's disheartening to see the Republicans going along with the scam, and because the fact that they're afraid of being primaried and Musk funding their opponent. But you got to stand up. If you don't stand up for something, then you're falling for everything. And this is exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, I just laid out the opening where Elon Musk is the villain. They depict Elon Musk. So everybody's blaming Elon Musk. So I need to know your thoughts about this, the psychology of this game that's happening. So follow me on this. I talked about this at their wrestling match in the weekend in Philadelphia. The Trump supporters were loving Trump and booing Musk. And please explain to me this psychological shifting game that's going on here.
It's hard to explain. I mean, the reality is that you have Trump, who talked about, to his MAGA base, talked about all this draining the swamp. Little did they know that the swamp they were talking about was Social Security benefits, VA benefits, housing urban development benefits. That's the swamp that they were talking about. And this is going to impact those folks that ultimately voted for them. Think about what's occurring in Florida, where you have Cubans, Haitians, and Venezuelans that are going to be deported. They're going to revoke their citizenship in order to deport them. These are the same people that voted. The majority of those folks voted for Trump. They didn't vote for that, but they were scammed. And we know that President Trump is the biggest con artist we've ever seen in history. And the fact that you have people floating a third term, I mean, we're on the precipice of someone trying to be an oligarch, someone trying to be a dictator. And you take a look at what's going on, where he's capitulating to Russia. Taiwan's on the menu. Now, all of a sudden, the United States is interested in Canada, Greenland, and Panama Canal. What are we talking about? Russia taking a look at Europe, reconstituting the USSR. I mean, we're talking about a new world order here. And I think people are not waking up to this. They got to wake up to this. And 2026 will be an opportunity to recapture one of the chambers in order to make sure there's a check and balance. Right now, what you see is the MAGA Republicans running amok, and they're going to create a lot of damage. And it's going to ultimately impact the same people that supported him. These people aren't a cult. They need to wake up, because democracy is on the line here. This is an experiment that's been going on for almost 250 years. And we have someone like President Trump that's at risk of dismantling this great experiment called America.
You mentioned Donald Trump as a scammer. How long, in your humble opinion, will it take before the people being scammed focus their attention on the person doing the scam?
Yeah, so I think that you're starting to see people realize, and people thinking to myself, hey, I didn't vote for that. What do you mean? What do you mean we're going to cut this and cut that? The one community that I'm really disheartened to see them not being activated are Republican veterans, because this is a population that has always been a community that has received bipartisan support. And the fact that you have Musk and Trump both targeting the VA, saying that there's all types of scams there. Listen, we know how Trump feels about veterans. He's talked about them. He's a fake supporter. He's called former Senator McCain suckers and losers and not really the hero. And he said the same thing about other veterans. He's a phony. And so I think that you're starting to see people, especially those folks that voted for him, saying, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. Well, you know what? It's too late. You signed up for it. There was a lot of signals around it. Part of the Democratic Party's fault for not having an open primary to allow for a Democratic candidate to emerge instead of allowing the vice president to be the candidate. But the reality is that, look, whether it was Biden or Harris, I was going to support whoever the Democratic candidate was. But we should have had an open primary to allow for a lot more discussion and open distent. What we had was two choices, Trump and Biden. And when Biden left, we had Harris. And so they thought, well, this is the same thing as Trump and Biden. Had we opened it up, we'd have had more people ultimately coming to the Democratic Party side, because there's a lot of good things that we're promoting. You know, we are the party of the working family. We have just lost how to message it. There's no reason why union members, tradesmen, small business owners are leaning towards the other side. Those are the people that ultimately belong to the Democratic Party. And I say belong, I mean their values. We share the same values about making sure about diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know, I've told people, look, with DEI, I'm not going to allow it to DIE. We're going to fight like hell to make sure that people have an opportunity. That's all we're looking for. No handouts, just a hand up.
So let's talk Social Security for a moment. It's unimaginable to me that we're at this stage, because Social Security was always regarded as the third rail. If you start talking about cutting it, it's instantaneous electrocution. That's a metaphor, ladies and gentlemen. And they are openly talking about it. They are firing people at the Social Security Administration. Gil, I am telling you right now, your phones are going to be ringing. And I'll tell you why I say that. The one thing I know about people in Chicago, the only politician most of them can name, they can all name the mayor. I think that's about 80% of Chicagoans can tell you at any given time who the mayor is, okay?
Well, in this case here, it's 94%.
Okay, all righty. Okay, a little Brandon Johnson hate there. I'm just going to let that one swim out to the ocean. That's an inside joke. Brandon, I still love you. You know I'm sticking by you. I'm the only guy in Chicago standing by you, but I'm with you to the end. It'll be me and you, Brandon, and maybe Stacy. So, okay, all right. 90% can say who the mayor is. Mostly because they go to O'Hare and they see his picture and they hear the voice, okay? But I'd say about 75% know who their alderman is. And they may not know the full name, Gil, but they know, like Chicagoans know the last name. So I live in the 47th ward. I've lived in the 47th ward since you were a kid in high school, okay? Troublemaker in high school. Forget which high school you were troublemaker.
Roosevelt High School.
Yeah, oh my God, you were a Rough Rider. How could I not know that? You were such a troublemaker, man. The teachers would tell me, man, that Villegas kid, I don't know, he's nothing but bad news.
That's right.
So you were a Rough Rider. You're just west of me.
Yep.
All right. You're in the, well, that would have been the 40th ward back then, I think. It doesn't matter what ward it was in. It's in the 33rd now. Anyway, when you were a troublemaker Roosevelt, I was still in the 47th ward, and we had an alderman named Eugene Schulter. Yep. All right. And so I'm always asking like to get into conversations. Do you know who our alderman is? And they would go, they think about it. I could see the little Chicago brains going around. They go, Schulter. Yeah, that's good enough. And then when he ran against Kelly, Johnny Lira, shout out to you. They came up with that nickname, which I will not repeat on the mic. But so some of them knew him as by the nickname that Johnny Lira came up with. But point is that they know the alderman. And when they're trying to get a question answered regarding Social Security benefits, good luck if you fire the people who answer the questions. If you're a senior and you can't navigate the portals that they have on the internet, good luck getting some assistance. And I'm in that boat. I'm an old goat, Gil, and I'm not good with computers. I got to lean on a lot of people, shout out Josue, who help me navigate this world, all right? I got a lot of millennials in my life, producer Chris being one of them. But no joke, if I had to navigate that portal, dealing with a computer, that anxiety that old geezers have about computer technology, it's not going to work. And these are benefits that I've paid into. This is a fund that I paid into. Now I want to get my money out so I can live a life. And they're firing the people that can help me get through it, Gil. I'm telling you, Chicago geezers, my generation, they'll be calling you, Rosanna Rodriguez, Matt Martin, even Raylo will get phone calls. Yeah, help me get through this. And because the only name they know is Schulter, Villegas. Do you follow what I'm saying?
100%. And listen, that happens now.
Go ahead.
The reality is this. Listen, I view our office as a service office. We're the conduit between government and the community. And so we receive those calls now around post office issues, right, which belong to the federal government, or an unemployment security payments that belongs to the state, and then also city and county services. So we do that now. Here, I'll tell you a quick funny story. When Trump was in office the first time, I was receiving calls. He had did something, and I was receiving calls from constituents, and they're like, you need to tell Trump. And I was like, okay, I'll tweet him. Like, I don't know how to get a hold of this guy, but we're there to help. And you're right. People are going to come to us, and that's why we've already taken steps. We have a computer set up to help navigate, to allow for our senior residents or folks that may not have Wi-Fi, whatever, to come to our office and help them navigate the government. And I'm going to have someone dedicated to helping them get the benefits that they've earned and they deserve. But it's frustrating, though, because they're taking a look at a program that people have paid into. And in some instances, kids that are benefiting from the survival death benefits, as I stated earlier. And they're entitled to this. They're entitled to these types of programs. And it's not a Ponzi scheme. It's a safety net. It's a safety net for Americans to make sure that they're able to live with dignity. And the fact that you have a billionaire, unelected billionaire, that is allowed to run amok in government and put forward these lies, straight up lies, where he says that it's a 150-year-old person receiving, that's BS. The inspector generals for those state departments have put forward reports. And if Congress and the president want to act, they can just merely look at those reports for the recommendations that the IG inspectors have put forward and put forward legislation. Stop talking about it. But he's trying to get buy-in. Again, they're trying to make this whole scam. But ultimately, it's going to hurt some of the same people that elected this guy.
Yeah, and that'll be. I'm going to really. I'm actually not one of those lefties, Gil, who spent a lot of time. How do I put this? Scoffing at folks who are complaining about what Trump's doing, even though they voted for Trump. I know. I have a bigger problem. My biggest problem, I will now use you as a therapist. I will now confess to you my biggest problem. My biggest problem are the downtown civic groups that rant and rail about Chicago corruption and then look the other way as Donald Trump legalizes corruption. Yeah. Corruption is legal in this country now. Okay? Donald Trump, follow me on this, Gil. His pal Musk is in trouble with Tesla. He's destroying that company the way he destroyed Twitter. And so they bring the cars onto the White House. Okay? They bring the cars on the White House lawn, and Trump is pimping for these cars. And then Sean Hannity's going, I'm going to go buy a car. It's like so bizarre and twisted and weird. Okay. Meanwhile, the guy they're pimping for is getting billions of dollars of contracts and putting money in to make sure that Donald Trump's his flunkies get reelected. How is this not a giant corruption scheme and scam? So I'm mad at everybody's all excited because Michael Joseph Madigan got convicted. Okay. And oh yeah, all these Republicans pounding their chest, Gil. Yeah, Michael Joseph Madigan, and even Burke. I don't have any love for Burke. You should let Burke out of prison and just vacate the case against Madigan, because if Trump and Musk can get away with it, then why are we punishing people in Chicago? I know you think that you're listening to that and you're going, this dude is twisted. I could see your brain working, Gil, but that's how I view it. Go ahead.
Well, no, I would say you're 100% right. I mean, these are the same Republicans are being so hypocritical here. I mean, you have someone that is, having a used car sale on the White House lawn, selling his goods like it's pillow sales guy,
yeah.
And then saying that people don't have the right to be upset. Eric Trump, Donald Trump's son, had a tweet prior to all the disruption in the market. He basically said in a tweet, "Buy the dip." And I'm thinking to myself, are they talking about the stock market, tanking the stock market, buying it low, wow, and then as it rebounds, making money on it? I mean, this guy tweeted it. If you go look at his Twitter account, Eric Trump, in a tweet 2 or 3 weeks ago, he says, "Buy the dip." And I'm like, my God, this is corruption. But you know what, though? The Supreme Court has already allowed and said, you know what? When he's in office, he can do whatever he wants without any type of repercussions. And so he's like, okay, cool. This is perfect. I got the playbook. I'm just going to do whatever I want. And the Supreme Court, who I appointed, if not half of them, almost close to half of them, they've got my back on this thing. But Republicans should be standing up, talking about the conflicts of interest that are occurring here, and stop being hypocritical, and really stand up and start working on behalf of the American people.
Wow, buy the dip, man. That's deep. They're going to cut Social Security, so you're going to be dependent on your 401k. Don't get old, Americans. That's my advice to you. Okay, just stay young forever. Figure out a way to do that. And now they're tanking the markets. So you buy the dip. We bought the dip. It was your daddy, Eric. Okay, that's what we bought.